Now tomorrow, February 15th, is the 50th anniversary of the fall of Singapore to the Japanese in World War II. Singapore was the stronghold of the Allied forces in Southeast Asia, and it was considered to be impregnable. But history showed otherwise. Mark McCallum talks to Harry Leslie, who was a private in the British Army in Singapore on the day it fell, and who subsequently suffered as a POW.
Private Harry Leslie's timing was rotten. He arrived in Singapore on January the 29th and saw action a week later.
I was wounded there, and I was then sent to Singapore Hospital on the 14th of February, the day before capitulation.
Was there much resistance from Allied troops in Singapore?
There was only the action that I was in, and the first thing that happened, we were retreating since we went into action. And I would say that it was a very short period of action, only 8 days.
What was the feeling among the civilian population on the day of capitulation?
The civilian population, from what I was given to understand, was that they were without water, and everything was very severe.
50,000 civilians and 10,000 Allied troops were killed or injured in the all-planned defence of Singapore. 130,000 troops surrendered. Among them, Harry Leslie was sent to Changi prison.
What was your personal feeling of being a prisoner of war in those early days in Changi?
It was like being in a complete vacuum. My feelings were uncertain whether I was going to survive, but I always had a feeling that we'll survive. The war will be over. Everyone was saying, well, it won't be long, they'll start to come back. The war will be over soon.
This was, however, mere naive optimism. Harry was to be used as slave labour for the next 3.5 years. At one stage, he was wrongly accused of theft and tortured for 3 months.
We were beaten with their rifles and bayonets and kicked.
How long did these sessions of beating and kicking go on? Every day for about an hour.
The fall of Singapore had a profound psychological effect on Australia. Suddenly, we really were in danger of invasion from the north, and many of those sent to defend us were now either dead or in prisons in miserable conditions.
What about the hunger aspect of being a prisoner of war?
The Russians were meagre. There were times when they were winning the war and they had sufficient rations, they gave us a little bit more.
And when they were losing? When
they were losing, that's when we felt the full brunt of starvation.
How heavy were you when you entered the British Army?
I was 12 stone 7 when I landed in Singapore.
And when you were finally released?
6 stone 10. I always had the feeling that I was going to survive. It was part of my spirit. But unfortunately, on the last camp that I was in, where it was really horrific, they were dying every day, gangrene, just dysentery, and we were on the bare ground. It was just unbelievably horrific.
Of the 100 men in that last camp, half died. After the war, Harry slowly recuperated, and in 1968 emigrated to Australia with his wife Julie. Tomorrow he will attend a memorial service in Singapore with his memories and his mates.
I will just take it in my stride, and I will pray that their souls will rest in peace.
Harry has put aside the misery of war and no longer bears hatred nor malice towards the Japanese.
I have not forgotten, but I have a nature where I feel that we should let our future generations know how we suffered, but not to bear the hatred and always have that feeling of hatred. Otherwise, the world will never get on.